So, at the beginning of this year, I was asked to be part of the Youth Parliamentary Program. This program is about giving a voice to young people and trying to teach them how democracy works and all that. This is also something that anyone can join. It's not an exclusive thing, at least in Australia. I'm not sure about other countries because I don't know what programs they have. I was quite hesitant because I don't really have much of an opinion on democracy and it wasn't something I had much interest in the beginning, but I ended up placing my application anyways and just waited. Because I didn't think I'd actually get in, considering the whole application process felt very in-depth. A month later, I received an email, and to my surprise, I got in. I didn't think I'd actually get in, but oh well, I guess. Training weekend ended up commencing a month after that. It's currently 6:42, and my train is at 7. It takes me 15 minutes to get to the train station. So I'm just praying that I make it. I found the training to be genuinely really boring because they didn't go really in depth about a lot of things, but at the same time they were trying to teach us about the government and democracy over the course of 2 days. Which is certainly not an easy task considering how genuinely complex these subjects are.
The bread, the child.
Alright, order.
My child.
Stop the steal, this is a storm connection, we're gonna march to Bean Bar. We're gonna, sorry.
On the second day of training, we all got into our committee groups and started discussing and making plans about the bill that we wanted to write, which had to be specific to our committees. The one that I was put in was the Accessibility and Human Services Committee. To make a long story short, we ended up writing a bill about youth homelessness and how we can do and what we can do to help them. During the weeks leading up to the camp, we would have sort of weekly online meetings with our committees to further plan out the bill and writing the bill as well, which I ended up missing quite a bit of because shit kept happening at home, and year 12, I got too busy with it. We also started setting up and advertising our campaigns, which I got to be a part of, which was actually really genuinely fun. I started building Lego, but it is really fucking late. It's, I think, about 25 past 11. I started this Lego about like in 7ish, but I'm packed and ready to go to Parliament tomorrow. I'm scared because I don't have a speech yet done. Day 1 of camp was a really fucking chaotic start with people arriving and unpacking. I didn't know anyone there. That's a lie. I actually knew about like 3 people there, which was terrifying, but everyone there was genuinely really freaking nice, and I was almost immediately able to make a friend. On the first day, they made us make name tags for our dorms and did a training refresher, which was again just as boring. We had lunch and then we got straight into practice debates, which was the most chaotic and silly shit I had ever experienced. We were given a bill at random that was very silly and poorly written, which we then had to either sponsor or refute depending on which side we were put on. That meant that we didn't actually get a choice in that. This is also how it works in real parliament, as far as I'm aware of. During that, we also practiced how to walk into chamber and that whole process. After all those shenanigans, we finally had dinner, steamed veg, chicken and rice, which was okay. Everything after that was nothing but meetings, and I think we also had like a little whole thing in the cathedral where we talked about warm fuzzies.
What's the word?
It's a very common word to say.
Cheese.
Cheese.
He was incredibly confused when he was given a warm fuzzy in response. He didn't understand what the warm fuzzy was, but he knew that he did.
Warm fuzzies are basically like these really nice messages that you give to people. Like nice messages that you'd make someone feel warm and fuzzy, hence the name. All of that ended up lasting to like 9 p.m. and by that point I was really fucking dead. Day 2 of camp. We had an early 7 a.m. start, and the girls in my dorm ended up getting up at 6 to get ready. It's too early to be up. and I was still really freaking tired from the day before. We arrived and had the opening ceremony, which was honestly very boring. The first debate over the youth governor's motion of public importance was very freaking silly and not that serious, mainly because it was quite hard to try and refute. The motion passed. Mini breaks. Then the second debate over the Green Bill. This debate was honestly very boring, with a lot of back and forth about the environmental impacts this bill will have. The government side kept saying that changing the places will do more harm than good, and the opposition side kept saying that they are not changing these areas, but rather fixing what had been damaged by climate change. Lunch! By this point I was starving, and lunch wasn't very good. Just a few, really basic sandwiches, which didn't fill me up at all. Started the debate for my bill, which was absolutely terrifying. I was the main sponsor on my committee, and also basically the only one there other than one other person. Therefore, I felt that it was very important for me to have to write a good opening and closing speech. When it came to actually saying my speech, I knew what I wanted to say and had it all written down, but when I stood up and went to talk, my anxiety and dyslexia got in the way, and I kept stuttering, but everyone was genuinely really supportive and told me that I did a really good job, even though I didn't. Everyone there is so genuinely supportive, regardless of if they're a first year or I've been doing the program for numerous of years. The bill ended up passing. Started the debate for the sprint bill we were refuting. My friends Basil and Liam made some really great points during this debate. Many of the arguments were about how a lot of the transport will be organized and how they will go about land permissions and agriculture in rural areas. The bill ended up passing. Lightning round. Traveled back to camp. More meetings. Dinner. We had nachos. It was really good. Even more meetings. Day finished at 9:30 p.m. We got forced to watch Trek. Day 3 of camp. 7 a.m. start. First debate started. Lightsaber battle. Very silly debate. Started debate for the second bill. Very serious and very respectful. Started debate for the third bill about chickens. Kinda serious bill, but also honestly just very fucking silly. Lots of egg puns, and also the chicken dance. The bill didn't pass. Started the fourth debate of the day. Very good points made by one member. Had lunch, also finally some good tea. Me, Jess, and Basil had a conversation about the last bill that was debated. Final debate of the day. Very, very silly.
Our youth have a bright future towards paying with taxes and billion-dollar money stats with this. Job in the road!
Youth Parley non-binary ent. I'm not going to try and explain that. We went to Government House. We've made it. Yes. We've made it into Government House. We received, so going to the Government House, we received these very, very official freaking entry cards that were all embossed and shit, and it all felt very freaking intimidating. Walking into Government House, we were met with a bunch of security, butlers, and all that. I was able to meet the left-sided governor, who's a very interesting and amazing person, genuinely so freaking nice. When we entered the house, we were offered drinks with that tasted, expensive, to say the least. It was just Coke, but it just tasted very high class. I felt very strange and I didn't belong here at all. Regardless, that was a very fun experience. While in Government House, we were told that there is a rule that we are not allowed to say anything that could be partisan. In the end, we only stayed up for an hour and before heading back to camp. Free time until dinner. For dinner, we had loaded baked potatoes. More free time. Day 4 of camp was a recreation day, a day for us to rest up, relax in between all of the really busy days. Unfortunately, I had to leave camp that evening due to some family drama, but usually the camp goes for 7 days. Being a part of this program has genuinely been freaking amazing and is one of my absolute favorite things now, and I'm going to certainly do it again the next year. I genuinely really recommend doing this sort of program for anybody. You can learn a shit ton. I was able to learn more about random topics and stuff, and it was just amazing. Everyone there in that program has been nothing but amazing and supportive, and it was such an amazing experience. See ya!